Looks like it's coming through and invite. Today, our speaker is Lisa Johnson, and Lisa is the CEO of BioForward, and she's going to be here to tell us about the state of biotech in Wisconsin. Lisa.
Yeah, I think it was 3 months ago. I was playing golf with Rob Goose, and he was like, "Hey, you gotta talk to the Rotary Club." And of course, John and I know John's part of my husband's golfing buddies, so it's great to be here. Thanks for having me. I feel like after listening to all you guys, I should have a comedy routine, but hopefully I'll be a little entertaining. Before I started my presentation, I thought it might just be helpful to give a little background on myself. I'm a finance major, not a scientist. And in 1989, I joined 3 scientists that came out of a company called Promega. Anyone heard of Promega? Pretty well established, right? So a gentleman, his name is Bob Mirendorf. I knew his wife, my husband and his wife taught in the Oregon School District. And I'm like, 3 scientists, you need a business person to start a company. So off we went, and we started what was called a research reagents company called Novagen in the University Research Park. And, you know, when you start a company, you do everything. So big deal, I had a finance major. I washed dishes in the lab. I took custom orders. I shipped products. You do everything, right, to get a company off the ground. So we built that company. I'm very proud. And in 1998, we sold it to a company called Merck. Now, some of you may have heard of Merck & Co. in the United States. This is Merck out of Darmstadt, Germany. Different Merck, long history, drilled in my head. They broke up in the World War I. But anyway, I joined that company when they purchased us, and it was a great experience to be part of this large multinational corporation. And part of the buying Novagen is there was a biochemicals company in San Diego that was part of that transaction. So I became the general manager of those 2 companies. And a matter of fact, Merck tried to push me out to San Diego and said, well, you got to live out there. And I'm like, no, I'm not leaving Madison. They're like, what do you mean you're not leaving? You can go to San Diego. Why do you want to be in Madison? I'm like, are you kidding me? I love Madison. I love Madison. I'm a Midwest girl. I'm not leaving. So I didn't, but every month I'd go out there and I'd run that organization. So we had 15,000 products, shipping hundreds of orders every day that would go into research labs, right? Where early stage research like UW-Madison is doing, right? So I did that for through 2008, and I had a variety of roles, operations. And when you're in this industry, I brought up the University of Wisconsin-Madison, you have technologies that are always coming into this industry. So I did something called corporate development. I pretended I was an attorney, actually. And so we had thousands of licensing agreements. Like one product could have 5 licensing agreements. So you had to negotiate all these things, you pay royalties. And so that's what I did for Merck through about 2009. So what used to happen in the early 2000s in this industry was big corporations would come in and they would buy a company like Novagen. And they might keep it here for a while, which they did with Novagen, but then they'd shut it down. So they moved Novagen out to California and nobody left. I think 1 person out of our 100 people went actually out to California. Everybody stayed here. And when I start going through all the companies, our employees are all over the place, which is awesome. So I then joined a small company and I raised equity in 2009, and it was an instrumentation company. Well, does everyone remember 2009? Like that was a bad year. Our portfolios pretty much, plummeted. Try raising equity in 2009. It was terrible. It was an awful time. It was one of the worst things I've ever done in my life. But we did it. We raised the equity. We kept that company going. And in 2011, I went, I've had it. I'm done. I'm done with small companies. I can't do this anymore. Well, so I don't know what happens when you turn 50. That's what I did in 2011. I decided to go to the government. Now something's wrong with me, I think, to go to the government. So I was the first VP of Entrepreneurship and Innovation for the Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation. I'm very proud of it. We really introduced some great programs during my time in that role, but I only lasted 3.5 years because I don't quite sure government was the right place for me, but I did have a really great learning experience to have that government background. And so finally I get to BioForward. In May 2015, I took over as CEO of BioForward. It was pretty much almost going under, and that's why they brought me in, because they knew I had an entrepreneurial background. You know, you just do whatever it takes, right, to get this thing out of really, it was pretty much done. Let's see if we can build this back up. So that's what I did, and brought in a lot of great team members. And so now I am going to talk about what is BioForward, but more importantly, what is this industry and how important it is, not only to this community, but to the state of Wisconsin. So here's my team. We're small but mighty. There's 4 of us in Madison and there's 1 in Milwaukee. We're something called a 501c6. So what that means, how that is different from a 501c3 is that means we are a member-driven organization and we can advocate. So we have a registered lobbyist, Jordan Lamb out of DeWitt LLP, and I'm a registered lobbyist. So again, that government experience actually did help me. And it really prepped me then for this organization, which that is a big part of what we do, mostly state legislative work, but also I certainly am in contact with federal legislators. We have actually about 235 members now. It's biohealth companies, and plus we have insurance companies, all the construction companies, architects, attorneys, name it. We have about maybe around 75 to 100 associate members that are also coming in. And we're focused on positioning and promoting our biohealth industry, which I'm going to go into what does that mean. Our board is made up of all the big companies, the ones that are really driving economic impact in this community and in the state, so which I'll go through a little bit more. So what do I mean when I say biohealth industry? So you had said biotech, that is the common phrase. We hear life sciences, we hear biosciences, and that's correct. When you look at the research institutions where my company was, Novigen, the research reagent, that no FDA, like we could create a product today, sell it tomorrow. Never had to go through FDA because it's not being injected in the body. It's merely being used in a laboratory setting, never being injected. So that requires no FDA approval. Way easier to sell than having to go through like therapeutics. But this is all biotech. And then when you get into this area, when we're having our vaccines tested and manufactured, our therapeutics, here's all the Wisconsin, not here, this is a sampling of biopharma, biomanufacturing. That's all biotech. That's the bio and biohealth. When you start getting into medical devices or imaging, when you go in for an MRI, CAT scan, anything like that, when you have a Cologuard, you're testing, you're diagnosing yourself for colon cancer. When you start to get into digital health, our electronic medical records, and then into the clinic, that's all health. So Wisconsin, because we have such strength in this broad base, all the way from the biosciences and from our research institutions, all the way to the healthcare, we've defined it as the biohealth industry rather than just saying the biotech industry. So it just kind of gives you a background and a sampling of some of the companies that represent this industry. So our research strengths, we are extremely strong, and a lot of that comes out of the University of Wisconsin-Madison, especially in the biochemistry, immunology area, genetics, and of course, Dr. James Thompson in the stem cell technologies. So I'm just going to put this up, and I'm the finance person, not the scientist, but we just had our summit in October, and we had several companies speaking to this new area, and I thought it might be interesting for you to know because you may be hearing about this in the future. It's something called theranostics, and I'll go into it in the next slide, but it's really more localized rather than only therapy or radiation. You're combining now therapies and radiation technologies. So what they're doing now from some of these companies is they can take a therapy and they first take that drug and they can diagnose it in the body. They take that same therapy, believe it or not, that drug, that molecule, and they can then come in and destroy the disease like a targeting. They go after that disease with the same drug. So it's a whole new way of combating cancer in the future. And Madison is one of the leaders in the entire world. San Francisco, Madison, and I can't remember the name of the town in the UK. We're it. This is coming out of Madison. So it's really exciting that we have several companies in this area. And this is really going to be the new way, hopefully, of really being effectively to destroy cancer. So some of the strengths that I'm just expanding upon that chart that I was showing you is that we have real strength in the medical device area. These are companies like GE Healthcare. So we're highly specialized, focused on medical imaging. And again, once again, we're a leader in this theranostics area. We get a lot of VC investments. And when it says multiple, that's really not a good term. It should be hundreds and thousands of patents are coming through this area. Our other strength, and you're going to see some charts on our economic impact, are in this drugs and pharma biomanufacturing area. So we don't have Pfizer here. We don't have Merck & Co. here. We do not have Bristol Myers here in Wisconsin. What we do have are all the manufacturing that goes into the drugs that all those companies put out, or all the vaccines, or companies like Pfizer have in Pleasant Prairie, Wisconsin, and Southeast Wisconsin, their distribution center. So when we all got the Pfizer vaccine, the COVID vaccine, it came out of Wisconsin. Didn't get manufactured here, but it got distributed out here. And again, Pfizer doesn't have their corporate office here, but they invest in here because we have, this is a great environment in the state to have both the component manufacturing and distribution in the state of Wisconsin. We are certainly leaders in R&D in this area. Again, VC investments, and I'm going to get to Forward Biolabs here in just a minute. The other thing that we try to do, and this is now kind of going more towards BioForward, is we really try to stress that the Midwest is this whole innovation territory. And as you can see, I'm picking out the Big Ten kind of areas with Columbus, Champaign, et cetera. Because when you're trying to attract talent and companies, you can't just say Madison or Milwaukee. They're used to the coast. They're used to being able to go to many different cities. So GE Healthcare has been on BioForward saying, you got to make Chicago always sound like it's a 2-minute drive away or a train, you know. You can't act like it takes a lot, you know, even a couple hours. So we're really trying to stress the importance of the Midwest, and we're calling it the biohealth innovation territory. And it has a variety of things. And one of the things that really helps us is our robust supply chain. That, you know, again, this is manufacturing, but it's a different type of manufacturing you can think of with this industry. That the reason we're so strong in the medical device area, why GE comes here and has 1,000 suppliers and spends $500 million a year, it's our supply chain. So it's a great story with this industry that I just told a media outlet, it's a unifier for the state. In a time that we aren't unified, this industry has its strength in Madison, Milwaukee, but the supply chain in the state is unbelievable. You've got Indiana, us, you know, you get the Michigan, the Ohio, but for this industry, Wisconsin is absolutely 1 or 2 in the nation. So it really can bring other parts of the state together with Madison and Milwaukee, which I'm very proud of. So just for BioForward, what do? So we promote this industry. We invest in an economic impact. I had a whole bunch, but it's stuck in a Honda at Wild Honda right now. That otherwise I would have had a whole bunch of reports for you. You can go on BioForward's website, click on advocacy, and it's sitting in there. So we invest in that to give us data, and I'm going to show you some. We invest in entrepreneurial support, and I'm going to show you Forward Biolabs here in just a second. So that's a shared lab space that helps companies get off the ground. We provide scholarships with the help of WDC to send small companies to conferences. They don't have the money. What ways can we help them? And 3 years ago, I told you we were pretty much done at BioForward in 2015. Since that time, we are a very, very strong organization now. We've over doubled our revenue. And again, I'm a nonprofit. I'm not here to make money, right? So I got to reinvest right back into our industry. And that's what we do. We hired a PR firm. We go national. We have been for 3 years promoting the strengths of Wisconsin and of our industry. And we have been marketing to bring talent into the state. You know, there's reports all the time, we're losing people out of the state, they're migrating. I'll tell you where they're not migrating with this industry, they're coming into the state. We are attracting talent into the state with this industry. And this is why other states are always fighting to get more and more of this industry, because it really does spur economic impact in any state. I just wanted to quickly tell you about Forward Biolabs. She'd also be a great speaker. This is a shared lab space. So when Novogen started, we were in an incubator space. How this is a little bit different is the community like MG&E, Findor, Promega, we've certainly put in a lot of time and effort into this, is that they bought all the equipment. They have personnel that run the operations. So it saves all these companies all that money that they don't have to invest in equipment. They can just see if they can get their companies off the ground. Some have gone under. That's the way it goes. It always happens. It's a healthy environment. But a lot of these have graduated out and are highly successful. Elephant is a great story of, he left Exact Sciences a couple years ago. I think that company is only 3 years old, a diagnostic company, 100 people, 100 people. That is huge economic impact to this community, to have entrepreneurs that can start and something like this, save their money, then launch out and create that much value that quickly. It's a great story, and it's one that was well worth the investment.
They've gone from 2,000 square feet of lab space down to 40,000 square feet in 3 years. Where are they? It's still on the west side.
Middleton. Which, by the way, just an aside to that comment, it's the one thing that's hurting Madison right now. We have no lab space. We have zero lab space. There's so much activity. Everyone wants to be here. All the big companies have gobbled up, you know, any space they can get. So all of our little companies, when they graduate from Forward Biolabs, have nowhere to go. It is a major issue that has to be addressed, and hopefully some developers will invest. So our second part is just positioning. We always have a big event, our summit every year. We have it at the Overture. It's a big deal. We are not an event organization. Some people are. That's not us. Our companies told us, invest, invest, invest. Get in talent, get in talent. So that's what we do. We also started a Women in Biohealth group that supports women, both professional development, mentoring. Of course, I talked about advocacy. That is a big value we bring our members. Education. We work very hard with entities like Ford Bio Institute, the UW, MSOE, creating professional development for our companies, but we can't do everything. So we donate money right back out to STEM education programs, wellness. We're really proud that we're able to do that and give that kind of support. We have a huge purchasing consortium because companies like Exact, Promega, they're part of our purchasing consortium. When we have that much power, then our entrepreneurs that come into it save money the same way, because we have that much power. So they get all those discounts, all those rebates, just like our big guys. So it's a great concept to have an association like this that can bring everyone together. So I just wanted to go through quickly the economic impact that just came out. We just launched this at our summit in October. This industry has a total state economic impact of $32 billion. Average wages, $96,000. It's 70% above the average wage for all other industries. Growth, 10.6% versus the state going down by 2.7. Now, this is since 2018. Admittedly, it's COVID, right? No question, that has an impact. But we've seen this all along with all of our economic impact reports. This industry is going like this. We have 1 billion. There's another national report that came out. We are one of the highest. They highlighted Wisconsin for the university R&D versus all other states. Again, the job growth, and then the huge multiplier effect. Again, one of the highest in the state. For every one job in the biohealth industry, 1.5 jobs are created elsewhere. You know, so that's purchasing, but that's that supply chain. That's why we have such an impact in the state. And this is just kind of another way to look at it from this 51,000 of a direct impact of jobs. what does that look like? You got the multiplier effect, total wages, output, local taxes, federal taxes. That's a huge amount of money coming into the state and certainly into this community. And there's, when I talked about the job growth, you can see our industry, again, transportation, that makes sense, had a high job growth during the COVID, this pandemic. But then you'll see all industries. And this is what's interesting, just so you know, our industry is manufacturing. Manufacturing is a high level makes code. And when you get down to ours, they get separated out. So, you know, this would be huge. If you yanked out our industry, this would look even worse in manufacturing. And this is really interesting, especially where you're a Madison group. This is a bubble chart. This is Madison and Rock County, Dane and Rock County. High location quotient when you're looking versus other elsewhere in the nation, huge location quotient. And then the growth. This is just these two counties. Look at the growth that we've had in these two counties. Mostly this is Dane County, but you have companies like Shine and North Star in Rock County. Yeah, it's in comparison to others, are you greater than like the average? So that you have it means a concentration. It very simply, do you have a concentration of that industry versus anyone else? So and you'll see that in the medical device for Wisconsin, that we have this high location quotient versus others as they analyze it versus other states. I just wanted to mention our expansions. Again, I briefly had said, you know, back in 2008, 2009, many companies were shutting down, companies like Innovagen, taking them elsewhere. The reverse has happened. Now all the companies, with Millipore Sigma actually Merck out of Darmstadt, they shut down Innovagen. Now it's flipped. And they expanded in Sheboygan, and they've expanded multiple times in the Madison area in Verona. So it's committed complete reversal of companies expanding here, coming here, not expanding on the coast. It's cheaper to come here and expand here. Acquisitions is also different, and Aldevron Exact's awesome. Like he's out buying companies, right? You didn't see that from Madison-based companies. Aldevron, that's a Nebraska company. And then companies that were here, companies from the outside are buying them. Thermo Fisher, these are all expansions that they're doing with those former companies. This is Germantown, all expansions. So they didn't grab them, take them out, they expanded them. Just funding awards, just so you're seeing what kind of, besides expansions, what kind of VC money, investment capital is coming through for our various companies. Real Cancer Care has a great story on, he was in Australia first, then San Francisco. The kid read a book on how to raise VC money. He raised over $50 million, and half was from international, half was coastal VCs. Told them to get out of San Francisco and get to Madison, because they'd have to raise 3 times the amount of equity if he stayed in San Francisco versus Madison. That is a complete reversal before the pandemic. Before the pandemic, VC invests, move you to San Francisco or Boston. Now they're saying stay in Madison because I don't have to raise the equity and I can't afford to have you on the coast. That is a great story, and one that there has to be a mindset in Wisconsin, because I hear a lot of companies, I can't raise money, can't raise money. We don't have VCs in Wisconsin. We're not going to have VCs for a lot. We have a few, not many. You have to get out of the state of Wisconsin, and they're investing, no question. Elephas is another great story. And this is just a chart to show kind of the differences. Where are they investing then? So they're investing in pharmaceutical, they're investing in digital health. We're very strong in digital health here. So you see kind of a little bit of the differences, definitely more in the pharma, biotech elsewhere. We don't have, we have existing companies. We don't have those new ones popping up as much in the therapeutics, but you'll also see in the med device, so much higher in the United States. So last slide. So this industry, critical. It's large and diverse. It's expanding, high wages, certainly explosive growth, especially in Madison, some in Milwaukee, but definitely here. It's one where the state, we get frustrated. We don't think the state gets it a lot of times. Why aren't you doing more? I mean, it doesn't matter if it's a Republican or Democratic state out there. They all want this industry because it's the future. It's the future and it's high wages. It has so much impact that they all want it. So we think Wisconsin needs to do a lot better job of fighting and marketing this state. Great industry, academia collaboration, especially UW-Madison Medical College. We certainly have cutting edge innovation, significant investments coming in here, especially the expansions. And I already mentioned that we have the supply chain, and it's what makes us successful is to have that here in the state of Wisconsin. And that is it. Hopefully you can take too long. Yeah.
Well, I thought I read that Exact Sciences laid off 250 employees, using only 100 at this location.
Nope. So they laid off 350, 250 out of Madison, and then 100. I think there were 4 companies listed elsewhere. They have they bought in California, Arizona, Boston. Really for operational fit. They have 5,000 employees, over 5,000 employees at Exact Sciences. So this was really an operational efficiency that needed to be done probably. You know, when you're fast growth, you're hiring tons of IT, HR, that's what he was on. He was on a ramp. He just kept hiring. Now you got to sit back and go, okay, where are we at? I bought my companies now. What are we looking like on an operations front? And it was a lot of directors and VPs, to be honest. That's what I've heard. So this wasn't like, wow, exactly. Wow, we're not doing well. Cologuard's going like this. Their sales of Cologuard are going like that. That's great. And, you know, hopefully they've made investments into blood testing kits. Hopefully those are going to be very successful. That is certainly the future in diagnostics, is blood-based for pancreatic, liver, lung, I mean, many of them. So that's just a correction. And
I hope they come back. They have that big, beautiful building now on the Beltline.
yeah, but again, there's still 5,000 employees. Yeah, that was, and again, 100 were let go elsewhere. So they didn't need, if they have some IT people in Phoenix, they needed to cut maybe half of that staff because they got it sitting in Madison, you know, so they were looking at that. Yeah.
Let's follow up on your comment about the state, right? You think some of that has to do with, there's a big part of the state that has an anti-medicine bias. And I just, you nod your head, and what is it that you do about that? That is really sad.
Yeah. You know, it was really interesting when I was with WDC. I grew up in a small town called Mount Carroll, Illinois. It's just south of, yeah, it's over by Freeport. You know, I don't even think it's even 1,000 people now. So when I was with WDC, sometimes I swear you're meant to do things in your life. So I traveled the state. I mean, they despised me. Like then if they find out I was from Madison, they'd be like, oh my God, you're from Madison. And like, they didn't even want to talk to me. I'm like, give me a break. I grew up in rural America. Don't tell me I don't understand you. And for this state to be against one another in a state like Wisconsin, again, are you kidding me? Let's just stop it. Can we? And this was back before all the real hatred, right? This is 2011, 2012. This was before you know what came along in 2016. So I really worked on that to say, let's figure out where we can come together, right? You don't have to agree with some people in Madison, whatever. So where we have really put, you are absolutely right on. As a matter of fact, we're going to kind of revisit how we're going after the legislators again in 2023. You heard me talk about the supply chain. I absolutely believe, and I've seen it with the legislators, it's the way I can get them to listen to us. Please, it is not about Madison, Milwaukee, and I always turn it on its head where I say, if we didn't have your suppliers in your district, then we wouldn't have the biohealth industry that we have in Madison today. We wouldn't have it. And GE Healthcare will get right up in front of you and tell you that the reason they're expanding in Milwaukee right now is because of the Wisconsin supply chain. You are not going to get GE Healthcare in Wausau, Wisconsin. It's not going to happen. But your supply chain is going to help them, right? So I do think that is how we've been approaching it. The other, just one more political comment, is that they've also attacked our education system and our university. It is the only way we attract talent here is because of an education. It is one of the main reasons is because of education. And it's how we get our talent. But more importantly, I told you, like all those licensing agreements, that innovation coming out of UW-Madison is what fuels our industry. It fuels us. So again, it shouldn't be a Republican or Democrat because, I mean, South Carolina, I can name off all kinds of Republican states, Texas, South Carolina, Tennessee. They are going all out for this industry and all out for their universities. But that is not anti-university. It is how do we do this better? So that's a long-winded.
Our grandson is in the process. He's graduate with his master's biomedical engineering. And his wife is a dentist here in Pittsburgh. And he is now at the 8th patent applied for. There's several of them that he's got, but I'm not talking about that. He's, I think there's now 3 in the company. They were with Vista. He still might be with them. But I don't know if he's with us or not, but I know that this might be certainly very beneficial. Wish he was here today.
Yeah.
But UW has done an awful lot for him to do this.
Right.
They gave him a free ride for his master's in biomedical engineering. And so, you know, so it's really been great. It's fun to hear. Yeah, but he is specializing in oral cancer.
Oh,
Which
cool.
is, again, right along with his wife being a dentist in Pittsburgh.
Yeah. Yeah. I wish the student had stayed. Because I mean, at the beginning, I was going to like grab her and say, don't be, I didn't even want her to be at a dentist. Just, I can show you like hundreds of companies. So just, you seem very, very smart. Stay. I'm always, when I get in front of students, I'm like, stay. Please don't leave our state. Please, we invested in you. Please stay. So.
What kind of majors should we be encouraging our children and grandchildren to be going into looking at this?
Well, I think there's a whole variety. I mean, certainly, again, you can even come out of the business end, right? I came out of finance, but it's certainly biomedical. It's biomedical, the engineering. It's certainly biochemistry, genetics. There's a broad range of STEM related, and they're all crossing over. Like when I mentioned the theranostics, that's engineering with your whole imaging equipment. But then you got the whole therapy, which is more coming out of your biochemistry and genetics, right? So that's what they're doing now. They're educating these students to have both kind of biomedical degrees. So, yeah.
So this is not going to be the same thing a lot of what you said. Coming from the real estate world. So UW is one of the top universities for patents in the entire country. We issue more patents than anybody else. We have one of the highest percentages of students who want to graduate here and then stay here. So they're not taking their talent somewhere else, which is great. Your comment about needing space is so spot on. Research Park, they just built that brand new like 200,000 square foot facility. There's a wait list for it, and they're paying absurd rent, like absurd rent. Accurate is expanding by 3,000 or 30,000 square feet, building a bigger facility. They shut down their Sunnyvale, California. It's right here.
That's correct.
Their entire facility. Like Madison, it will be Austin, Texas, Boston, and Madison within the next 3 to 5 years. That's where everybody's gonna go.
If we can create the lab space, otherwise,
They're building 150,000 square foot that lab facility.
otherwise our whole companies will leave.
Right now,
Good.
if you build it, they will come, and I think there's gonna be a lot of development going on in the next
Good.
few years.
That would be great news.
And I did email, I have your economic impact report. I
Good.
emailed it to Aaron.
Good.
Aaron has it. Anybody want?
Yeah, yeah.
We'll put a link on it.
Yeah, do.
Newsletter, so it's-
Yeah, and you also, on that advocacy page, if you flip over to it, and we're updating it right now, we're sending out a newsletter on Thursday, you'll see all of our federal and state advocacy efforts and what we're focused on right now as well. So,
Elephant, maybe the pool or something.
There's a lot of cool companies. Well, it is a cool company, but there's a lot of cool companies. So anyway, you've got, I use the word proud a lot, and I am. I'm just so proud that we actually have this here, because at the end of the day, it's not just economic impact, it's saving lives. I felt so blessed to be in this industry that I was so proud I could walk into a lab, and ours was on the research end, and they would be like, oh my gosh, you saved 10 years of my research. And it was AIDS, it was cancer, all kinds of things that I walk into. And it's just so impactful. And we have all of these companies, and an exact diagnosing, so Elephants or an exact first diagnosing early. You know how many lives that's going to save with Cologuard to have that early diagnosis? I mean, I think it's amazing that Madison has this industry, and I'm really proud, and Milwaukee. I'm just really proud of it. Anything else?
And I got one question for you. Who are some of the companies that are the next unicorn? And explain what a unicorn is.
Well, as far as just taking off, I mean, as far as,
$1 billion.
well, I don't know if any to be the billion. I mean, yes, you mean like a Fetch rewards. I mean, Fetch would be one. I hate to say, I don't think I should say, because that would not be right. I don't know. It's hard to tell. Sometimes it's just hard to tell. I'm usually not politically correct, but I don't think I was.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
For all of our speakers, Lisa, we make a contribution on your behalf to the Rotary International's End Polio Plus Fund. Speaking of medical, so next week, Terry and Kathy Siebert will be here to speak about, talk about supper clubs in Wisconsin.
Oh, cool.
So anyhow. Thank you all for being present in person and on Zoom, and remember, service above self, everybody. Have a great week.